Hello, and welcome to Optimistic Wargaming. In this video, I will be going through all of the factions that can be found within Grand Alliance Order for Age of Sigmar. If you're interested in the Chaos or Death factions, go and watch my previous videos on those topics. Grand Alliance Order are a collective of factions that could be considered organised and with a level of civility. These civilizations are for the most part free, choosing not to worship any of the Chaos Gods, being alive, and actually wanting to live a relatively normal life. This is not to say they are automatically the good guys of the setting, as many of the Gods of Order have multiple flaws and their own prejudices against certain things. The Forces of Order tend to be the factions where their motivations aren't that remote from what you'd expect in modern-day civilizations. These are also the factions that lore-wise have a bit of politics between one another owing to their various cultures and beliefs, including a wide variety of races, including humans, elves, dwarves, lizards, and tree people. Probably the definitive Order faction. The cities of Sigmar are the defenders, guards, and mercenaries of, well, the cities of Sigmar. There are 7 great cities, all of which are true bastions of order, providing trade and protection to the average civilian. The cities of Sigmar consist of the 3 major races of order: the humans, the dwarves, Dwarden, and elves, spelt incorrectly. The cities of Sigmar are the order force with the most variety in terms of models, and as a result, how many different lists are available to the player. Want an army of infantry? Done. Cavalry or chariots? Easy. Pure ranged is also entirely possible. In addition, you can run some of the more unusual builds, such as pure magic users, monsters, and even tanks. The Cities of Sigmar army traits are all different, dependent on what city you choose, but universally, you do get access to stronger endless spells, as well as benefits to your general, if they're a minor hero that is. This is because your minor heroes are just normal people, bravely, or not so bravely, in charge of defending their homes. Due to these characters being mostly support, they need assistance, which allows you to take a loyal bodyguard, as well as an advisor, in order to assist with fighting off those gods and monsters. You also get access to a limited supply of Stormcast, to help the hold line, should you wish. As mentioned earlier, you have to choose a city to be from, and there are 7, each with their own theme. You can choose from no flags, no city, where everyone is brave and needs a flag. A city of tree huggers, who can ambush and get access to tree people. Wait, is this Fort Tree City? A city that is all about artillery and guns, guns, guns! A city that worships phoenixes and gets buffs whenever their units die. Yar har fiddle-dee-dee, do what you want because a pirate is free. Also, there be monsters. Hogwarts, city of witchcraft and wizardry. And finally, a mountain city that's all about speed and has access to steampunk sky dwarves. The Daughters of Khaine are a shadowy, religious organisation that worship the bloody-handed elven god of murder, Khaine. These warrior women are led by the oracle Merathi and her priestesses, who perform bloody rituals and sacrifices, as well as leading and organising blood sports. In reality, the god Khaine had been destroyed long ago, and in fact, Merathi is the goddess that all the sacrifices and rituals give power to, allowing the hierarchal to spread her influence. Hey, do you remember when I said order doesn't necessarily mean the good guys? Gameplay-wise, the Daughters of Khaine are fast and aggressive, debatably the best combat army in the game. Most of your army is able to dish out a ton of attacks, which, alongside their hero support, leads to a force that is more than capable of inflicting a high amount of wounds. This is overall how the Daughters of Khaine play, not holding back much at all, as they start out with low defense, but lots of damage potential, but with the prayers of the priests and the protection of their altars, making them a rather solid force, though the Daughters do tend to struggle at defending their home objectives, with only a few ranged options that are rather expensive. On top of this, your army-wide ability provides you with the ability to reroll 1s throughout the game, with the turn number affecting what you can reroll. These effects are cumulative, so once you reach turn 5, you can reroll nearly any 1s you roll. You also can ignore damage, making your distinct lack of armour slightly less problematic than you think. The Worshippers of Khaine have access to 4 temples for their subfactions. They are: one that has greater zealotry, allowing better rerolls to hit and greater damage reduction. One that allows you to improve your ability to hit. One that you probably won't take, as it only provides a slight chance to attack twice. And finally, the sneaky ones that are harder to hit with ranged weapons, and the ability to teleport units. Wait a minute, how do you slay fire? Anyway, the Fyreslayers are an army of dwarven warriors and mercenaries, obsessed with battle, honour, and gold. These Duarden are quick to anger and tenacious, fighting as like berserkers and barbarians, with axes and picks. These warriors wear little armour. Instead, they have golden tattoos in the form of magical runes, which they can use to channel their rage. The Fyreslayer's passion and love for gold is often confused with greed, but there's an ulterior motive behind this obsession. For the Duarden of the Lodges seek the fragments of their destroyed god Grimnir, the god of wrath, which appear in the form of a specific kind of gold, known as Urgold. The Fyreslayers are an army that does not have much in the way of variety, but knows exactly what it's designed to do. Your forces are slow, admittedly, but hardy and hit like a sledgehammer, when properly supported. Every unit in your army has multiple wounds, and your basic infantry have the ability to fight as they die, making them great at holding the line, once they get where they're needed. Your elite units are excellent at protecting your heroes, able to take wounds to them, or getting a huge defensive buff whilst nearby. Speaking of your heroes, they can be split into 2 categories: the support and the damage, with your priests and totems providing huge buffs, and your ruined fathers and berserkers able to break through the opponent's lines, with the giant, fire-breathing lizard mounts acting as living battering rams. The generic ability that all Fyreslayers have access to is activating the Urgold runes they have embedded in their skin. There are 6 abilities that can be used once a game, once per turn, and have a regular version and an enhanced version that you will likely never see. They provide the ability to get more accurate attacks, more damage, better armor penetration, better leadership, being able to move faster, and bonuses to your throwing axes. The Fyreslayers have 4 sub-factions, including one that makes your heroes better, one that's defensive and grants better leadership, one that gives you more and better fire lizards, and one that's just a bit faster. The Idoneth are a race of elves that have adapted to a life underwater. These are the first elves that were rescued from Slash, though not without complications. The Deepkin are blind and are born without souls, and as a result are a little bit unhappy with their situation, choosing to live underwater where it's dark, making a lack of visibility more of a strength than a hindrance. The lack of souls is a bit of a bigger issue, however, and as a result they have developed a kind of magic that allows them to take the souls of others and transfer them to their children, with the lower classes getting the souls of the lesser races, and the nobles getting full elf souls. In order to raid the surface dwellers, the Deepkin use their magics to transfer the feeling of the ocean to the battlefield, making the deep sea species they ride to battle appear to swim in air, whilst simultaneously drowning their foes. The Idoneth army is one that's all about speed and manoeuvrability, with their units all being rather fast. The force consists of the Namati, infantry that can help hold line and provide a little range support. Even these units, though, are rather elite in nature, but flexible, able to take down hordes of infantry just as well as they can take down large monsters. The Asharan, who are the support heroes that are able to cast spells, outflank, and even regrow models. And finally, the Akelian. These are the hitting power of the Deepkin, the lordly nobles who ride their mighty steeds. These cavalry are fast, incredibly so, able to pretty much go wherever you want. Your allegiance abilities further add to this ability of manoeuvrability. You need to position yourself well, though. Forgotten Nightmares allow you to dictate what units your opponents are able to shoot, and the Tides of Death, which provides you with a different ability each turn. These abilities are meant to represent the tides, with Low Tide providing cover, Flood allowing you to run and act normally, High Tide, which breaks the game, and finally Ebb Tide, where you can flee easier. The tides make the Deepkin an army that requires a bit of forward planning, but should you master them, they are deadly. There are 6 sub-factions to choose from with the Deepkin. They can be summarised as better magic, as well as buffing your allies, bonuses on the charge and monster hunting, better mounts and an altered tide table, better unit regeneration, bonuses when charged, and finally, some better manoeuvrability. The Kharadron Overlords are a collection of Duardin that live in Skyport. These traders are known for having a bit of a secular lifestyle, only leaving the relative safety of the sky to make deals and trade with the other civilizations for profit. The Overlords follow a code of ethics, with each port having a different code. These are designed such that the crew of the fleets are uniformed and make as much profit as possible. The Kharadron Overlords are primarily a ranged force, with every unit available to you having a ranged weapon of some description. The main strength of the Overlords comes from their sky vessels. These airships come in 3 different sizes, with all bar the smallest able to transport your infantry, providing them with protection and speed, which they are then in turn supported by your balloon-riding dwarves that are able to protect your vessels from enemy assaults. Meanwhile, your hero units are able to provide support abilities to your ships and troops, whilst simultaneously not being too bad at shooting themselves. The main army abilities comes from the fact that they are rich, with nearly every unit in your army starting with some gold. Once per phase, a unit can use their gold to get a powerful buff that turn, which allows you to reroll all fails of a particular type of roll, such as hit, wound, or save. On top of this, assuming you didn't select a sub-faction, you get to build your own code. This code is split into 3 sections, which provide, in order, rerolls against certain targets, a utility ability, which provides buffs in certain situations, and finally, a once per game ability. Sub-factions wise, there are 6 of them. The first encourages you to act aggressively. There's one that consists of heroes that don't believe in magic to the point where it stops existing. One that buffs your infantry and allows you to take other Duardin. One where your units are richer and therefore braver. One that gives you better ships. And finally, one that makes you better in close combat. The new kids on the block. The Lumineth are a race of elves created by the gods Tyrion and Teclis. These beings were created in the image of the elves from the world that was, and made them into proud pioneers, warriors, and artisans, seeking to suppress the civilization of old and re-establish themselves as the masters of the realms. However, the Lumineth quickly became obsessed with a crystal called ether quartz, which gave them astonishing powers, but at a cost of their emotions. This led to Lumineth choosing to bond with their realm and gaining powers from the elements instead. The Lumineth are an elite force, where almost every unit is a wizard. The Lumineth are an army that, unusually for elves, seems to prefer a defensive, slow-moving playstyle. The army consists of spear infantry, long-range archers, skirmish cavalry, and an incredibly slow-moving elite unit. When deploying the unit, you can choose them to form a shining company, which means they have to stay in contact with one another and cannot run or charge. This makes them extremely slow and passive to play, but makes them some of the most durable infantry in the game. On top of this, all of the troops have the ability to inflict mortal wounds, allowing your force to inflict a large amount of damage. Overall, this makes the Lumineth a force that's a little passive, but once in position, they are very difficult to shift and likely to win any attrition warfare. The generic heroes for the Lumineth are limited in options, but provide some rather powerful support buffs, dependent on what you pick, with one unit making you immune to morale and forcing your opponent to take the tests for you, and the other providing rather strong buffs to your elite, slow-moving units, including your Rockhound Mountains. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention them, didn't I? You get access to mountain spirits that appear as cows for whatever reason, if you want some more traditional damage. Your allegiance abilities are, for the most part, tied to specific units, and as a result I've already mentioned those, but your universal one is very similar to the gold that the Overlords have access to, but instead it's your crystals. Every unit has this reserve that they can use to provide a buff, providing Lumineth with bonuses to hit, to save, or to cast. You can also double up on choosing units to fight, which is very useful in most circumstances. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. More sub-factions. 4 of them this time. They provide bigger stashes of crystals, more usage of your command abilities, better spellcasting and more spells, and finally, bonuses to the Mountains and the Cow Elves. Aztec dinosaurs from space! The Seraphon are the cold-blooded ancient race that served the Old Ones. They are led by the Slann, Enigmatics Frog Wizards. That is a statement I never thought I'd read out loud. The Seraphon are wholly opposed to chaos, seeking to destroy its influence and presence utterly. The Seraphon can be split into 2 groups. The Celestial Starborn, who are unfeeling and made up of the light of the stars, and the Coalesced, who can transform the land to their will. These beings also have their physicality, and as such their scales are incredibly tough. The Seraphon are a force with quite a variety of playstyles available to them. They are able to run tough line infantry, able to hold off most enemy assaults, though maybe not as capable of killing them back. Many fast skirmish infantry, able to quickly manoeuvre around and attempt some chip damage. Decent cavalry options, including flying, on top of the more traditional fare. And you're able to take huge monstrous dinosaurs, including Stegosaurus, T-Rex, and you have even access to one of the most durable models in the game, based on the Ankylosaurus. On top of this, you also have access to one of the most powerful spellcasters in the game, the Slann, who are able to cast multiple strong spells with many bonuses, as well as a spell lore with some decent variety and complete control of the endless spells. The Seraphon Allegiance allows you to add to the flexibility, allowing you to pick and choose spells, and to pick an army-wide buff to either combat, movement, or magic. To further add to this variety, the Seraphon allow you to choose between 2 additional ability sets that aren't sub-factions. We'll get back to those later. You have the Coalesced, which makes your units more durable, as well as making them more bitey, whilst the Starborn allow you to teleport units across the board, as well as summoning new ones. Sub-faction-wise, you have access to 4 of them, 2 for each allegiance you chose. The Starborn have access to 1 that allows you to place units into reserve, as well as having better magic, whilst the other option makes your skinks, the skirmish stuff and some of the monsters, faster. Meanwhile, your Coalesced have one that makes your Saurus, aka the main damage units, more accurate with their attacks, and overall being more aggressive. And last but not least, an army that allows you to run a pure monster list, and makes them better as you stomp your opponents with big scary dinosaurs. The poster child of Age of Sigmar. The Stormcast are the personal warriors of the warrior god Sigmar. These beings are forged from the souls of the noble and brave warrior people of the realms. Not just warriors though, anyone with a pure heart can be chosen. Snatched at the moment of their death, these people are forged a new body and suit of armour using the constituent parts of their soul, lightning, and gold. I like gold! Sorry, Sigmarite. The Stormcast are then sent out throughout the realms to consolidate the God King's power, protecting the civilizations, and rooting out the forces of chaos, death, and destruction. The Stormcast are a very elite force, but another one that can be fit into many different playstyles, assuming you don't want to try out hordes. The Stormcast Eternals are a force where every unit in the roster has multiple wounds, and the vast majority of units having a 4+ save or better. They also have the advantage of being the faction with the most model support. The Stormcast have strong core units that can reliably hold line, units that can shoot from across the board, units with a great deal of manoeuvrability, anti-horde or even anti-monster units with extremely heavy cavalry. Their hero options further complement this, with decent support heroes, powerful wizards, and true beatsticks, all able to be taken with relative ease, and some heroes even fitting into multiple roles. This variety when it comes to the units, however, does mean that your generic allegiance is a bit bare bones. You're able to deep strike your units using drop pods. Suddenly appear as lightning strikes the battlefield. Any unit in your army is able to do this, which allows you to get the drop on most opponents. The Stormcast do have the most amount of sub-factions available, 8 in total, each with their own themes. You can run incredibly brave warriors who can fight in the hero phase, monster slayers and duelists, super chaos haters who love combat, being able to see the future, getting redeployment and better magic. Deus Vult, no magic allowed. More brave folks who get more dudes when your others die. An army of dudes who wish to utterly destroy their foes, getting permanent buffs when killing. And finally, mighty strategists. Meet Alariel. She speaks for the trees, and they are angry. The Sylvaneth are an army of forest spirits that inhabit the bodies of trees, allowing you to take dryads, not ents, and the medium-sized ones. These are the people of Alariel, the goddess of life, and they seek to protect the forest from any and all intruders. Normally peaceful and isolationists, these spirit folk, once roused to wrath, are brutal in the destruction of those who harm the forest homes. But they are more willing to expand their homes, making the natural grow faster as belies their nurturing nature. Overall, the Sylvaneth are a rather defensive, attrition-style force, with nearly every unit having some form of defensive ability, with the basic infantry having the ability to blend into the environment, and the large units having a combination of decent armour and special abilities that allow you to take a defensive stance, on top of the ability to heal damage. This does not mean that the Sylvaneth don't have a strong damage output, however, with the largest of the trees more than capable of fighting enemy units, and the mid-tier trees able to sweep through all but the toughest foes. The Sylvaneth are also a force where magic is rather important, with almost every hero being a wizard with some rather useful abilities. Debatably the strongest aspect of the Sylvaneth, however, is their board manipulation. The Sylvaneth are able to set up some woods as a terrain feature at the start of the game, and multiple units are able to add more. Your units can then move through these woods and emerge within another set of trees at any point during the game, and can even emerge from them mid-battles. Many of the units also have other abilities that are based upon the presence of trees being nearby, making them quite essential to your playstyle. What's that? You want more sub-factions? Well, there are 7 for the Sylvaneth. They can be described as follows, making your spooky trees even spookier, making your spellcasters even more essential to your army, a force that rewards aggression on your part, one that makes you or mid-sized trees stronger and braver, a force that wants to tank the hit and prefers being charged, a force that makes your units even more durable, and finally, salty cold trees that will provide you with exploding attacks. And that's it. That's all of the core order factions. Which is your favourite? Thank you for listening, and I hope that this helps you decide on a faction. If you have any further questions about anything, just let me know. Until next time, stay optimistic, and most importantly, stay safe. Bye for now.